Welcome back to this quiet evening hour. Tonight we journey to a place the stories have misunderstood for centuries. To a life wrapped in silk and burden both. To the true existence of a medieval princess. When the tales reach us through minstrel songs and painted manuscripts, we see beauty crowned in gold. Ladies waiting in towers for salvation. Romance blooming in castle gardens beneath spring moon. Yet the truth holds harder edges. Sharper sorrows. Between the years 1200 and 1400, nearly 1/3 of royal women departed this world before reaching their 30th year. Their bodies claimed by childbirth. Their spirits worn thin by duties chosen not by them, but for them. This is not a story of rescue or enchantment. This is a story of survival. Of small rebellions within great constraints. Of women who found ways to breathe, even when the world pressed close around them. Before we begin our journey backward through the centuries, settle yourself deeply into comfort. Pull your blankets close. Let your body find its natural rest. Where we travel tonight requires you be safe and warm. For the places we visit knew little of either. You wake in a stone chamber in 13th century England. The cold arrives first. Not the gentle chill that makes you burrow deeper into down, but the kind that enters bone and dwells there. That turns breath to visible mist before your eyes have opened. The bed beneath you rustles with movement that is not your own. Mice have made their home in the straw that fills your mattress. The small creatures who share your sleeping space are joined by others. Fleas and bedbugs. Constant companions that no amount of royal blood can banish. Darkness fills the room almost completely. No switches exist to summon light. No lamps wait beside your bed. Only narrow window slits allow the barest suggestion of dawn to enter, bringing with that pale promise more cold air to add to what already numbs your fingers. The smell rises around you. Damp stone, weeping with England's endless moisture. The sharp note of the chamber pot waiting in the corner. The particular scent of unwashed humanity that permeates everything. Medieval people bathed far less than our modern minds imagine, especially during winter's grip. And so this particular perfume clings to tapestries, to clothing, to skin itself. A voice startles you from these observations. Morning. My lady, you are not alone. Your ladies in waiting sleep in this same chamber. One at the foot of your very bed. Listening to your breathing through the night. Witnessing your sleep as she witnesses everything else. Privacy remains a concept not yet born. Certainly not for princesses. The woman speaking, Alice is her name, has already risen. Already begun stoking the fire that died during darkness. She has been awake for at least 1 hour. Perhaps 2. For servants must wake before their ladies. Must prepare the world before those they serve enter it. It is time for morning prayers. My lady, Alice says, helping you sit upright in the rustling straw. The household gathers. This is not invitation, but requirement. No matter your exhaustion. No matter if fever burns or sorrow weighs. Morning prayers happen every single day without exception. God comes first. Always and absolutely. This truth governs medieval life with an authority that cannot be questioned. Cannot be escaped. Alice helps you from bed. Stone floor meets bare feet like ice. The ritual of dressing begins. Nothing like the simple comfort of soft clothes pulled on in sleepy silence. Medieval royal clothing exists to display wealth and status. Comfort being a concern so distant it barely registers. First comes the linen shift, the only garment washed with any regularity. Then the kirtle, a long-sleeved dress that laces up sides or back. Next, the surcoat, an overdress, sometimes bearing sleeves so elaborate they make any practical task impossible without assistance. Your feet disappear into leather slippers, offering neither support nor warmth against the cold. Arms up, Alice instructs as she and another lady wrestle you into layers. This is not even your daily wear. This is merely for morning prayers. You will change again after eating. Possibly again before midday meal. Certainly before evening supper if guests attend. Your hair receives quick brushing. Not thorough, as that consumes too much time and prayers wait for no one. Alice braids it swiftly and tucks everything under a linen veil. Not the tall, pointed hat of fairy tales. Those came later, and in specific regions only. You wear something more like a nun's wimple. Cloth that covers hair, neck, frames your face. A woman's hair carries too much temptation, too much sensuality to be displayed publicly. It must be hidden, contained. Hurry now. Alice urges, fastening a cloak around your shoulders. Your father will be displeased if we are late. Your father is not simply father. He is king or powerful, duke or earl. He controls literally everything about your existence. Where you go, what you eat, what you wear, whom you speak with, and most importantly, whom you will marry. Displeasing him risks being sent to a convent, or worse, being married to someone truly terrible as punishment. So you hurry, following Alice through winding stone corridors barely warmer than your chamber. Just as dark, servants scurry past carrying lit torches and rushlights, trying to bring some illumination to the gloom. The smell worsens near the kitchens, a mixture of smoke and unwashed bodies and food that would turn your modern stomach. You reach the castle's chapel just as bells ring. Everyone has already assembled. Your father at the front, of course, with your mother beside him if she still lives. Childbirth kills so many medieval women that her presence cannot be assumed. Your brothers, if you have any, stand near your father. You and any sisters stand behind the men. Always behind the men. The chapel is cold too, though at least candles blaze here. Dozens casting warm glow that almost makes the space feel cozy. Almost. You still see your breath hanging in air. The priest begins prayers in Latin. You understand portions? Having heard these same prayers every day of your life. Full comprehension is not expected of you. You are a woman. Your job is to look pious. Follow along with responses. Set good example for the household. Our Father, who art in heaven. The familiar words roll out in the priest's monotone. These prayers will continue for at least 1 hour. Standing on cold stone in your thin slippers. Your stomach growls, having eaten nothing yet. That does not matter. God first. Always. Where is the glamour? You might wonder. Where are the handsome knights and fancy tournaments? Those exist. Yes. But they are not daily reality. Daily reality is cold, boring, uncomfortable, and rigidly structured. Morning prayers finally end. You are permitted to go to the hall for breakfast. Do not expect much. Medieval breakfast is not pancakes and bacon. It is probably bread. Dense, coarse bread, nothing like our fluffy modern loaves. With perhaps some ale. Yes, even in the morning. Or watered wine, if fortune smiles. Maybe some cheese, if available. Maybe an egg if chickens are laying well. That is all. And you do not eat alone. The hall fills with people. Soldiers, servants, clerks, visitors. Everyone eating together with your family at the high table elevated at the front of the room. Privacy still does not exist. My lady, your father wishes to speak with you after the meal. Alice whispers as she refills your cup with watered wine. Your stomach clenches. Not from hunger. When your father wishes to speak with you, good news rarely follows. Usually, it means development in your marriage negotiations. Because that is what you are to your family. A valuable political asset. A tool to forge alliances. Secure peace treaties. Gain lands through marriage. Your personal feelings on the matter remain completely irrelevant. Do you know what it concerns? You whisper back. Though ladies are not supposed to gossip at table, Alice shakes her head. No, my lady. But there was a messenger from France last night. France. That could mean anything. An alliance with France would be prestigious. Certainly. But it would mean leaving England. Leaving everything and everyone you know to go live in a foreign court where you do not speak the language, do not know the customs, will be viewed with suspicion as a foreigner. The food in your mouth suddenly tastes like ashes. You are 13 years old. Just 13. In your time, you would be in middle school. Worried about homework and friends, and maybe your first crush. Here you are already of marriageable age. Girls can be betrothed as infants. Married at 12, which is the minimum age set by the church. And expected to start bearing children as soon as possible after that. Your education, limited compared to your brothers, has been geared toward making you a good wife and mother. You have been taught to manage a household. Basic medicinal skills. Needlework. Maybe some music if your family values those accomplishments. Reading possibly. Though not all noble women were literate. Writing less commonly. Languages if you are expected to make a foreign match. You have also been taught since you were old enough to understand that your body does not belong to you. It belongs to your family until marriage. Then to your husband after. Its purpose is to produce heirs. Preferably male ones. And childbirth in the medieval period is basically a death sentence for many women. No modern medicine. No understanding of germs or infection. No pain relief beyond herbs and prayer. Women die in childbirth constantly from bleeding, infection, exhaustion. Even queens and princesses with the best care available die regularly this way. And if you survive one birth, you are expected to go through it again and again. As many times as it takes to produce enough sons to secure the lineage. The meal ends. Your father motions for you to follow him to his private chamber. This is it. Whatever news came from France, you are about to hear it. And whatever it is, you have no say in the matter. Your life is not your own. As you walk behind your father through the corridors, you pass a window overlooking the castle grounds. For just one moment, you catch a glimpse of two young squires practicing swordplay in the yard below. They are laughing. Free in a way you will never be. They get to learn fighting, strategy, horsemanship. All things forbidden to you because you are female. Their futures will be determined largely by their own abilities and choices. Yours was determined the moment you were born female and royal. The heavy wooden door to your father's chamber opens. Unlike your sparse sleeping chamber, this room shows the true wealth of your family. Tapestries line the walls, keeping out drafts while displaying hunting scenes and family crests. A fire roars in the hearth, making this the warmest room in the castle. Your father has a desk, an actual piece of furniture dedicated just to writing and business, covered with parchments, quills, and his personal seal. Daughter, he says, not bothering with your name. Medieval fathers, especially royal ones, were not exactly the warm, fuzzy type. The King of France has proposed a match between you and his second son, Philip, and there it is. Your future decided. You do not know this, Philip. You have never met him. You do not know if he is kind or cruel, handsome or ugly, smart or stupid. None of that matters. What matters is that France is powerful, and this alliance would benefit your family politically. The terms are favorable. Your father continues as if discussing the sale of a horse rather than your entire life. Your dowry will include the northern territories, and in return we will receive trade rights through French ports. You are 13. You have never left England. You do not speak French. And now you are expected to leave everything behind. Go to a foreign country. Marry a stranger. Sleep with him. Bear his children. And run his household. All while being watched and judged by a court that sees you as an outsider. When is all you can manage to ask. When will your life as you know it end? The betrothal will be announced at Michaelmas. The wedding will take place next spring after you turn 14. Your father finally looks at you directly. This is a good match. Better than I hoped for. You will bring honor to our family. Translation. Be grateful. Some girls get sold off to men 3 times their age. Some get sent to foreign courts even more distant and strange. Some get married to secure peace with enemies who hate them from the moment they arrive. By medieval royal standards, this is actually a decent arrangement. Yes, father. You say, because there is nothing else to say. No point in crying or begging. It will not change anything. This is your duty. This is what you were born for. As you leave your father's chamber, you realize that your life, as you have known it, already restricted and controlled, now has an expiration date. You have less than 1 year left in your home with the people you know speaking the language you understand. After that, you belong to France, to Philip, to a life being thrust upon you without your consent. Alice is waiting outside the door. One look at your face tells her everything. France. She asks quietly. You nod. The second son, a small ray of hope in her voice. You nod again. Well, she says, trying to find something positive. At least he will not be king. Less pressure on you. Small comfort. Second, sons still expect heirs. Still have political responsibilities. Still have complete control over their wives. But Alice is right about one thing. Not being queen consort does mean slightly less scrutiny. Slightly lower stakes. Come. Alice says, guiding you back toward your chambers. It is time for your lessons. And so your day continues. You do not get to fall apart. Do not get to process this life-changing news. There is no therapist to talk to. No understanding parent to comfort you. There is just the relentless schedule of a medieval princess's day. Prayers. Meals. Lessons. More prayers. More meals. Maybe some supervised recreation, if you are lucky. And then bed. The same tomorrow and the next day until you are shipped off to France to begin your real purpose. Making babies and securing alliances. This is the reality of being a medieval princess. Not fairy tales. Not romance. Not freedom. Just duty. Restriction. And the constant looming knowledge that your body is not your own. Alice leads you back to your cold chamber, where several other ladies are waiting. They are all from noble families. Sent to serve you and learn the ways of court alongside you. They are not exactly friends. True friendship is not really a concept that exists in the same way for medieval nobility. These girls are both your servants and your competition, watching your every move and reporting back to their families about the princess they serve. Lady Catherine will be here shortly for your French lessons. Alice says, helping you change into a simpler gown more suitable for sitting and studying. Your father says you will need extra practice now. Of course he does. The clock is ticking on your transformation from English princess to French bride. Learning the language is not just about communication. It is about survival. The chamber feels slightly warmer now that the morning fire has been burning for a while. Your ladies busy themselves around the room preparing your study materials. One of them, Margaret, who is about your age, looks at you with sympathy in her eyes. She knows what it means to be married off to a foreign court. Her sister was sent to Scotland last year and has not been heard from since. I hear the French court is very grand. Margaret offers trying to be helpful. Much more refined than ours. What she does not say, but you both know, is that the French will find every flaw in your manners. Your speech, your appearance. You will be judged mercilessly as the foreign bride. The outsider. No matter how well you prepare, it will not be enough. Lady Catherine arrives and your heart sinks. She is a stern, thin-lipped woman who spent time in the French court in her youth and never lets anyone forget it. She carries a small wooden paddle that she uses to rap your knuckles when you mispronounce a word. By the end of most lessons, your fingers are red and swollen. "Bonjour, mademoiselle," she says sharply, not bothering with pleasantries in English. You stare at her blankly. You have been learning French for years. All noble children do, since it is the language of diplomacy. But you are nowhere near fluent. And now, suddenly, your entire future depends on how quickly you can master it. She said good morning. Margaret whispers, earning herself a glare from Lady Catherine. Again, Lady Catherine snaps, pointing at you. You try. God, you try. The paddle comes down on your knuckles. Pain shoots up your arm, but you do not cry out. Princesses do not show pain. Again, Lady Catherine demands. And so it goes for 2 excruciating hours. Your tongue twists around unfamiliar sounds. Your throat tightens with the effort of producing nasal vowels that do not exist in English. Your knuckles throb. By the end, you can barely make a fist. What they do not tell you in fairy tales is that medieval education, especially for girls, was often brutal. There was no concept of positive reinforcement. No gold stars for effort. There was only success or failure. And failure meant punishment. Better. Lady Catherine finally says, though her face shows no satisfaction, tomorrow we will work on court etiquette. The French have different customs. You must not embarrass your family. As if you needed the reminder, as if the weight of your entire kingdom's diplomatic relations does not already rest on your adolescent shoulders. Lady Catherine leaves, and you flex your fingers, wincing. One of your ladies rushes forward with a small pot of salve made from herbs grown in the castle garden. This too is part of your education. Learning which plants heal, which soothe, which poison. Medieval medical knowledge was primitive by our standards, but it was comprehensive in its own way. Passed down from woman to woman across generations. Time for your needlework, my lady. Alice announces as another lady brings forward your embroidery frame. This at least is something you are good at. All noble girls learn needlework from the time they can hold a needle. It is not just decorative. It is practical. In a world before mass production, everything must be made by hand. Queens and peasants alike spend hours every day with needle and thread, making and mending clothing. Linens. Tapestries. Your current project is a complex religious scene showing the Annunciation. The angel Gabriel telling Mary she will bear the Son of God. The symbolism is not lost on you. Like Mary, you have no choice but to accept the fate handed to you by men who claim to speak with authority. The work is detailed and demanding. You are using silk threads imported at great expense from the East. Dyed in vibrant colors that cost more than what a peasant family might earn in 1 year. The gold thread you are using for the angel's halo is actual gold pounded thin and wrapped around a silk core. Your family's wealth literally woven into fabric. Smaller stitches. Alice reminds you, inspecting your work. A French lady would use stitches so small they can hardly be seen. You sigh and pull out the last row, starting again. Your back aches from hunching over the frame. Your eyes strain in the dim light coming through the narrow window. Even on bright days, medieval castles are dark inside. Candles and oil lamps are expensive, so you work mostly by daylight, which means your productive hours are limited, especially in winter. Tell me about the French court. You say to Alice as you work. What should I expect? Alice perks her lips. It is more formal than here. More political. Everyone watching, everyone else looking for advantages. For weaknesses. Sounds awful. You mutter, pricking your finger for the third time. A drop of blood stains the white linen. You will have to work it into the pattern somehow. It is survival. Alice corrects you. Court life is a battlefield without swords. Words are the weapons. Alliances are the armor. And unlike men, women cannot settle disputes with a duel. We must be cleverer, more patient. This, too, is part of your education. Learning the unwritten rules of court life, how to read people's intentions behind their formal words, how to navigate the treacherous waters of noble politics, where a single misstep could mean disaster not just for you, but for your entire family. Will you come with me? You ask suddenly. To France. Alice's face softens. If your father permits it, some of us will accompany you, though many of your ladies in France will be French, chosen by your husband's family to help you adjust. She means to spy on you, to report your every word and deed back to your new family, to make sure your loyalties shift appropriately from England to France. The morning passes in silence after that, broken only by the soft sounds of needles through fabric and the occasional instruction from Alice. Your thoughts drift to what awaits you in France. Will your husband be kind? Will you be allowed to bring your favorite books? Will anyone there care about what you want, what you think, what you feel? You know the answer. No one cares now. Why would that change in France? Midday approaches, and it is time to change clothes again for the meal. This time, you are dressed more formally as there are visitors to the castle. Minor nobles from nearby estates coming to pay respects to your father and incidentally to get a look at you. The princess who has made such an advantageous match. You are a curiosity now. A success story in the medieval marriage market. Your value has just increased significantly. The great hall is noisy and crowded when you enter. Trestle tables have been set up in rows with your family's high table on a raised platform at the front. The stone floor is covered with fresh rushes mixed with herbs that release their scent when crushed underfoot, helping to mask the smells of so many people in one space. You take your place at the high table, careful to observe all the proper formalities. Back straight, eyes modestly lowered, hands folded, silent unless spoken to. The perfect medieval lady giving no one any reason to criticize. The meal is more elaborate than breakfast. Roasted meats, fish, bread, cheese, seasonal vegetables prepared with expensive spices. Wine flows freely. You eat little. Your stomach still tight with anxiety about your future. Besides, it is not ladylike to show too much appetite. Medieval beauty standards for noble women prize daintiness, paleness, and delicacy. The ethereal look that comes from never getting enough sun or food was considered attractive. My daughter, your father calls down the table, making you jump. Lady Catherine tells me your French still needs work. You feel dozens of eyes turn to you. Heat rises in your cheeks. Yes, father. I am trying. Try harder. He says bluntly. I will not have the French court laughing at English education. You nod. Eyes lowered again. Humiliation burning through you. Public criticism is just another tool in the medieval parenting arsenal. Shame as motivation. Fear as incentive. Perhaps the princess would benefit from a French lady in waiting. Suggests one of the visiting nobles. Someone who could speak with her throughout the day. Your father considers this, then nods. A practical suggestion. I will arrange it. And just like that, another decision about your life is made without your input. Another stranger will be thrust into your intimate daily routine. Another person to judge you, to find you wanting. After the meal, you are allowed a brief period of recreation in the castle garden. It is one of the few times in your day when you are permitted outdoors. and even then you are closely supervised. Medieval noble girls do not run. Do not shout. Do not climb trees or play rough games like boys do. Your recreation consists of sedate walks along garden paths, perhaps some gentle ball games or dancing practice. The garden itself is nothing like our modern idea of ornamental gardens. It is primarily functional. Herbs for cooking and medicine. Vegetables. Fruit trees. Beauty is secondary to utility in medieval life. Tell me about Prince Philip. You say to Alice as you walk. What do you know of him? Alice hesitates. He is 17. She finally says, 4 years your senior. They say he is interested in scholarly pursuits. That could mean anything from a genuine intellectual to a weak boy unfit for military training. In a world where physical prowess is prized above all for men, being scholarly is not necessarily a compliment. They say he is kind to his servants. Alice adds, as if sensing your disappointment. That is rare enough to be remarked upon. It is something at least. Kindness is not a quality much valued in medieval nobility, especially in men. Power, strength, cunning. These are the traits that matter. If Philip is known for kindness, perhaps your life with him will not be completely miserable. Will I at least get to meet him before the wedding? You ask. Alice shakes her head. Unlikely. The marriage negotiations will be conducted by proxies. You will probably meet him for the first time at the ceremony. Medieval royal marriages were not about compatibility or love. They were business arrangements. Political alliances sealed with vows and consummated with bodies. The idea that you should meet your spouse beforehand, let alone have anything in common with them, would have seemed absurd to medieval nobility. Your afternoon lessons begin after your brief garden respite. These focus on household management, the skills you will need as the lady of a grand estate. Because that is what a princess becomes after marriage. The manager of her husband's household, responsible for everything from provisioning the kitchens to overseeing the servants to maintaining the accounts. Brother Thomas, a monk from the nearby abbey who serves as the castle's clerk and accountant, arrives with his wax tablets and stylus. Today's lesson is on household expenditures. How to track what is spent, what is saved, what is wasted. A well-run household reflects God's order. Brother Thomas intones, his voice as dry as the parchment he carries. Wastefulness is a sin. Carelessness is a sin. Ignorance of your resources is a sin. Everything is a sin in medieval Christianity. The fear of hell permeates every aspect of life. Every decision, every thought. It is the ultimate control mechanism in a world already rigidly controlled by social hierarchies. Brother Thomas sets a tablet before you covered in neat rows of Roman numerals. Calculate the cost of provisioning the kitchen for 1 month based on these figures. He instructs. It is tedious, painstaking work. Arabic numerals exist but are not widely used yet in Europe. Calculations that would take us seconds with modern math take you long, frustrating minutes. There are no shortcuts. No calculators. Not even the simple convenience of positional notation that makes our base 10 system so efficient. Your head aches with the effort of converting measures and values. How many shillings to the pound? How many pence to the shilling? How many bushels of wheat to feed how many people for how many days? The variables seem endless. You must know these things. Brother Thomas says sharply when you make an error. A lady who cannot manage her household is at the mercy of dishonest stewards and thieving servants. He is right, of course. In the medieval world, numeracy is as important as literacy for a noble lady. You will be responsible for managing vast estates, overseeing hundreds of servants and workers. If you cannot keep track of resources, cannot budget properly, cannot detect when you are being cheated, your household will fall into disarray. And that reflects poorly not just on you, but on your husband. After mathematics comes music, another essential skill for a medieval lady. Not because anyone cares about your personal fulfillment or creative expression, but because accomplishments like music making increase your value as a diplomatic asset. A princess who can entertain at court is more useful than one who cannot. Sister Agnes from the convent arrives with a small harp. Unlike the massive concert harps we think of today, medieval harps were portable instruments that could be played while seated in a lady's chamber. Your fingering has improved, Sister Agnes says as you pluck carefully at the strings, producing a simple melody, but your timing still falters in the middle section. Music in medieval Europe was primarily religious. Hymns, psalms, simple devotional pieces. Secular music existed too, of course, but it was not considered entirely proper for young noble ladies to sing the popular love songs of troubadours. Your music lesson is cut short when your mother's messenger arrives. The queen requests your presence, the woman says with a curtsy. Your mother, the queen. Even in your thoughts, you do not think of her informally. Medieval parent-child relationships, especially in royal families, were not characterized by casual warmth. Respect, duty, and proper distance were the norm. You follow the messenger through the winding corridors to your mother's chambers, larger and more luxurious than your own, befitting her status. Inside, you find her surrounded by her ladies, all working on an enormous tapestry stretched on a frame that takes up half the room. Daughter. She acknowledges you with a nod. Come see what we are making for your wedding. The tapestry shows a symbolic joining of your family's crest with that of the French royal family. The workmanship is exquisite. Your mother is known throughout the kingdom for her skill with a needle. This tapestry will travel with you to France, a visual reminder of the political alliance your body is sealing. It is beautiful, you say, because it is despite what it represents. Sit. Your mother commands, indicating a stool near her. Work on this section. The French court will judge your needlework harshly. You must not shame us. You take your place and begin stitching, adding tiny, precise stitches to the border pattern. Your mother watches critically, occasionally correcting your technique. This, too, is education, learning from the woman who has lived the life you are about to begin. A life of duty, obligation, and carefully concealed emotion. I have heard about the French match, your mother says after a while, her voice low enough that only you can hear. It is better than I hoped for. Prince Philip has a reputation for gentleness. Coming from your mother, this is practically gushing approval. Will it hurt? You ask, your voice barely audible. You both know what you are asking about. The wedding night. The consummation that will make the political alliance real and binding. Your mother's face remains impassive, her eyes on her needlework. Yes, she says simply, but it passes, and then it becomes tolerable. In time. Tolerable. Not pleasurable. Not joyful. Just tolerable. That is the best a medieval queen can offer her daughter by way of marital advice. Remember your duty. She continues, still not looking at you. Provide ye heirs. Manage his household. Bring honor to both families. The rest is unimportant. The rest being your happiness, your desires, your personhood. All unimportant in the grand scheme of medieval political marriage. Yes, mother, you say, because there is nothing else to say. You work in silence after that, adding stitches to a tapestry that symbolizes your fate. The irony is not lost on you. With every stitch, you are literally helping to create the artifact of your own subjugation. But that is the nature of being a medieval princess. You are both the commodity being traded and the craftsperson preparing yourself for market. The weeks pass in the same pattern of prayers, lessons, and duties. Winter gradually loosens its grip on the castle, and the first tentative signs of spring appear. Snowdrops pushing through the frosty ground in the garden, slightly longer daylight hours, the occasional warmer day that offers brief respite from the bone-deep cold. And with spring comes the accelerating preparations for your departure to France. You wake one morning to unusual activity in the castle. Servants hurry through the corridors with purpose, and there is a tension in the air that was not there the night before. What is happening? You ask Alice as she helps you dress. The French delegation has arrived early, she says, her hands moving quickly to fasten your gown. They are expected in the great hall within the hour. Your father has requested your presence. Your heart skips. The French delegation, the official party sent to finalize the marriage arrangements and escort you back to France. You knew they were coming, of course, but not so soon. Not today without warning. Is Prince Philip with them? You ask, trying to keep your voice steady. Alice shakes her head. No, my lady. Just his representatives. The marriage will still be by proxy here. Of course, royal marriages often happen this way. A stand-in would represent your future husband at the ceremony here in England, and you would not meet the actual prince until you arrived in France. It was more practical this way given the dangers and delays of medieval travel. But it also meant you would be officially married to a man you had never even seen. You are dressed with unusual care this morning. Your best gown, dark blue wool trimmed with miniver fur and embroidered with silver thread. A new linen veil, crisp and white. Your mother's necklace borrowed for the occasion. Silver set with small sapphires that match the gown. They must see you at your best. Alice murmurs as she adjusts the veil. You represent England today. No pressure. Just the entire diplomatic relationship between two powerful kingdoms, resting on the impression made by a 13-year-old girl. You are escorted to the great hall, where the atmosphere is formal and tense. The English and French parties sit on opposite sides of the long table, eyeing each other with the cautious respect of old rivals. Your father sits at the head, projecting royal authority. Your mother beside him, her face a perfect mask of courtly dignity. And there, the empty seat waiting for you. Not beside your parents, but halfway down the table, positioned directly opposite the leader of the French delegation. Setting you apart, marking the transition of your allegiance from England to France. You take your place with as much grace as you can muster. Eyes modestly lowered as you have been taught, but you cannot help stealing glances at the man across from you. The one who represents your future husband and his family. He is older than you expected, with streaks of gray in his dark beard. Lord Bertrand de Montfort, you learn from the introductions. A cousin of the French royal family. Trusted advisor to the king. And now your escort to your new life. Mademoiselle. He greets you in French, inclining his head. It is an honor to meet the future Princess of France. You respond in carefully practiced French, thankful for all those painful lessons with Lady Catherine. The honor is mine, my lord. I look forward to serving France and its royal family. Lord Bertrand looks pleasantly surprised at your command of his language. A small victory that sends a flush of pride through you, quickly tempered by the realization that you have just demonstrated your value as a political commodity. Like a horse being assessed for purchase, you have shown a desirable quality. The meeting progresses with mind-numbing discussions of the marriage contract. Dowry amounts, land transfers, trade agreements, military alliances. All the ways in which your body and what it represents will be leveraged for political advantage. You sit quietly, speaking only when directly addressed. This is not a conversation you are meant to participate in. Merely witness. After all, you are not a party to the negotiation. You are the object being negotiated over. And the marriage itself? Lord Bertrand asks, turning the conversation to practical matters. When shall it take place? Your father glances at you, then back to the Frenchman. 3 weeks hence. Time enough for proper preparations, but not so long as to delay the princess's journey to France unnecessarily. 3 weeks. Just 3 weeks left in the only home you have ever known. The knowledge settles like a stone in your stomach. Excellent. Lord Bertrand nods, and after the ceremony we shall depart immediately for Dover. Weather permitting. No time to adjust. No gradual transition. One day you will be an English princess in your father's castle. The next, a French prince's wife on your way to a foreign court. The wedding day arrives with the inevitability of tide. You are awakened before dawn not by Alice as usual, but by your mother's ladies. Today is different. Today everything changes. The ritual of dressing takes hours. First, a bath. A rare luxury, especially in the colder months. Scented with herbs and flower petals. Then layer upon layer of clothing, each more elaborate than the last. The linen shift, the silk underdress, the wedding gown itself. Cream-colored silk, embroidered with gold thread and seed pearls. Its sleeves lined with miniver fur. Its train so long it requires 2 girls to carry it. Your hair is washed and dried before the fire, then arranged in elaborate braids wrapped around your head like a crown. Unlike a normal day, it is left partially visible. A symbol of your unmarried state that will change during the ceremony when your head is fully veiled to indicate your new status as a wife. Through it all you remain oddly calm. Not happy. Not excited as a bride in romantic stories might be. But not panicking either. There is a strange freedom in having no choice. In knowing that your path is absolutely fixed and nothing you feel or think can alter it. The great hall has been transformed. Fresh rushes mixed with wild flowers cover the floor. New tapestries depicting scenes from the lives of married saints hang on the walls. Candles by the hundreds illuminate the space. Their light reflected in silver and gold plate displayed prominently to demonstrate your family's wealth. Guests fill every available space. English nobles in their finest attire. The French delegation in even more elaborate garments. All watching as you enter on your father's arm. The music shifts to a stately processional as you walk slowly toward the makeshift altar at the far end of the hall. And there waits your husband. Not Prince Philip, who remains in France, but his proxy Lord Bertrand, standing stiffly in formal attire. Beside him, looking incongruously pleased, is Father Ambrose, who will perform the ceremony. The wedding itself passes in a blur of Latin phrases and symbolic gestures. You speak your responses by rote, having rehearsed them countless times. You extend your hand when prompted. Feel the weight of the ring as Lord Bertrand slides it onto your finger on behalf of the absent prince. And just like that, you are married. Not in body. The marriage will not be consummated until you reach France and meet your actual husband. But in law, in politics, in the eyes of the church and both kingdoms, there is a feast afterward, more elaborate than any you have experienced before. Course after course of expensive delicacies. Wines from the finest vineyards. Subtleties, which are elaborate sugar sculptures shaped like the joined coats of arms of England and France. You sit in the place of honor, now officially a French princess rather than an English one. Lord Bertrand, having completed his proxy duty, has returned to his place with the French delegation. The seat beside you remains conspicuously empty. A reminder of your husband's absence. Of the strange limbo you now inhabit as a married virgin. A wife without a husband. Throughout the meal, you receive gifts, gold cups from a duke, a reliquary containing what is claimed to be a splinter from the true cross, illuminated prayer books, jewels to adorn your person and your future home in France. Each gift giver approaches, bows or curtsies, presents their offering with formal phrases of congratulation. You respond with equally formal thanks. Your French, now fluent enough after Lady Isabel's intensive training that even the French delegation looks impressed. It is all performance. A diplomatic spectacle with you at its center. Nothing about this day is for you. It is for the alliance, for the kingdoms, for the future heirs you will produce. Your feelings are irrelevant to everyone present except perhaps to Alice, who stands behind your chair, occasionally leaning forward to whisper practical advice. As the feast stretches into evening, musicians play and acrobats perform. Under normal circumstances, a wedding night would follow. The bride and groom escorted to their chamber by ribald guests. The marriage consummated and verified. But your situation is different. Your real wedding night awaits you in France with a man you have still never met. The journey to Dover takes 3 days. Medieval travel is slow, uncomfortable, and potentially dangerous. The roads, little more than rutted dirt tracks, are muddy from spring rains. Your escort keeps watchful eye for bandits, though the size and obvious wealth of your party actually makes attack less likely. You sleep in abbeys along the way. The safest, cleanest accommodations available. Still, clean is a relative term in medieval Europe. The straw mattresses provided for you almost certainly harbor fleas and other tiny residents. The food is plain but plentiful, offered with appropriate deference to your rank. Try to rest well tonight. Lady Isabel advises as you reach the abbey, where you will spend your final night on English soil. The channel crossing can be challenging. You have never seen the sea before, having spent your entire life inland at your father's primary castle. The prospect of crossing the narrow but notoriously rough stretch of water between England and France fills you with dread. You have heard stories of ships lost, of even the strongest men rendered helplessly ill by the motion. That night you barely sleep again. The unfamiliar abbey, with its stone walls and echoing corridors, feels hostile, transitional. Neither home nor destination. Just a waypoint in your journey. Morning comes too quickly. A brief meal. Another change of clothes into warmer traveling outfit for the sea crossing. And then the procession is moving again down to the harbor at Dover, where your ship waits. The smell hits you first. Salt air mixed with fish, tar, rope, and the indefinable stench of a medieval port town where sewage runs directly into the harbor. Then the noise. Sailors shouting, gulls screaming, the constant creaking of ships against their moorings. And finally the sight, the vast expanse of gray-green water stretching to the horizon, choppy with white caps under a threatening sky. That is our vessel. Lord Bertrand points to a ship larger than the fishing boats, but tiny compared to the expanse of water it must cross. The Sainte Marie. One of the best in the royal fleet. It does not look particularly reassuring. Wooden. Open to the elements, except for a small cabin at the rear. Dependent entirely on wind and human muscle to make the crossing. Medieval seafaring is primitive, dangerous, and terrifyingly subject to the whims of weather. Come, princess. Lady Isabel says, taking your arm. Best to board quickly and be settled before the tide turns. Boarding involves being half carried by sailors down slippery steps to a small boat, then rowed out to where the Sainte Marie is anchored. The little boat bobs alarmingly on the waves. Water occasionally splashing over the sides, soaking the hem of your gown. By the time you reach the ship, you are already cold, damp, and feeling distinctly unwell. The cabin assigned to you is barely large enough for a narrow bed, really just a shelf with a thin mattress and a small chest for immediate necessities. Alice and Lady Isabel will share the space with you. Your other ladies must make do with sheltered spots on deck, huddled under cloaks and blankets. The crossing usually takes about half a day, with favorable winds. Lady Isabel explains, helping you settle on the bed. Try to sleep if you can. It is easier that way. Sleep proves impossible. As the ship leaves the relative shelter of the harbor and encounters the full force of the channel, the vessel pitches and rolls, creaking ominously with each wave. The small cabin reeks of tar and salt and the previous passenger's sickness. Within an hour you are violently ill, as are most of the women in your party. Alice holds your hair back as you retch miserably into a bucket, too sick to feel embarrassed. Lady Isabel surprisingly seems unaffected. I have made this crossing many times, she explains, handing you a cloth dampened with vinegar to wipe your face. One gets accustomed to it. You cannot imagine ever becoming accustomed to this misery. Medieval medicine offers little help for seasickness. Just peppermint oil, which you cannot keep down anyway, and the dubious comfort of knowing that the journey must eventually end. The crossing takes longer than expected. A storm blows up midway, forcing the captain to adjust course. What should have been half a day stretches into a full day and night of pitching rolling agony. You slip in and out of consciousness, aware only of the constant motion. The sounds of timbers groaning and sailors shouting instructions above the wind. You find yourself praying. Not the formal rote prayers taught by Father Ambrose, but desperate personal pleas for survival. Medieval sea travel kills countless people every year. Ships sink without warning. Bodies are never recovered. But finally, mercifully, the motion changes. The ship steadies somewhat. Voices outside the cabin sound more confident, less urgent. We are approaching Calais. Lady Isabel announces, opening the cabin door to let in a blast of salt air. Come, princess. You should be seen on deck as we arrive. It is the last thing you want. You are pale, unwashed, your hair tangled by salt spray, your clothes stained with sickness. But once again, duty trumps personal comfort. You allow Alice to help you into a clean gown, difficult in the confined space, and do what she can with your hair before joining Lady Isabel on deck. The French coastline is visible now, a smudge of gray-green on the horizon that gradually resolves into definite land. Calais harbor comes into view. Smaller than Dover but busier, with more ships and an impressive stone fortress guarding the approach. That is the Château de Calais. Lady Isabel explains. Built by the Count of Boulogne to protect the harbor. We will stay there tonight before continuing to Paris. Paris. The French royal court. Prince Philip. Your future. It all becomes suddenly terrifyingly real as the ship maneuvers into the harbor. This is France. You are no longer under your father's protection. No longer in a land where you speak the primary language. No longer just a princess in waiting. Now you are a wife. A diplomat. A living symbol of alliance between sometimes hostile kingdoms. The welcoming party waiting at the dock is impressive. Local nobles. Church officials. A contingent of royal guards in the French king's livery. Banners flutter in the brisk wind. Horses stamp impatiently. It is a show of respect for your rank, but also a demonstration of French wealth and power. You are half carried off the ship, still weak from the journey. A litter awaits to transport you to the chateau. A courtesy that makes you pathetically grateful. You do not think your legs would support you for the walk. The Château de Calais is smaller than your father's castle, but more ornate, with elaborate stone carvings decorating its facade. Inside, you are escorted to chambers prepared for your arrival. Surprisingly comfortable, with fresh rushes on the floor, a fire already burning in the hearth, and a tub of steaming water waiting. A bath. Thank God. Alice murmurs, already helping you out of your travel-stained clothes. It is a luxury you desperately need after the crossing. Medieval hygiene is minimal at the best of times, and travel makes it worse. The hot water scented with lavender and rosemary is heaven against your salt, chafed skin. Alice washes your hair, working out the tangles with patient fingers. Clean, dressed in fresh clothes, and fed a light meal of bread and broth, all your stomach can handle after the seasickness. You feel almost human again. But there is no time to truly rest. Barely an hour after your arrival, Lady Isabel informs you that the local nobility await an audience. They have come to pay respects to the new Princess of France. She explains, already selecting appropriate jewelry to complement your gown. It is expected, so you put on the mask of royalty once more. Back straight. Head high. Expression pleasant but dignified. You enter the chateau's great hall and take your seat in the chair of honor, receiving the bows and curtsies of French nobles, whose names you immediately forget in your exhaustion. You speak the formal French phrases Lady Isabel taught you, accepting their welcome, expressing appropriate gratitude for their hospitality. Your accent betrays you as English, of course, but your grammar is correct. Your vocabulary appropriate. Small victories. After what feels like hours but is probably only one, Lady Isabel finally escorts you back to your chambers. You did well, she says, with what sounds like genuine approval. But rest now. The journey to Paris begins tomorrow, and it is much longer than the one from London to Dover. She is not exaggerating. The journey from Calais to Paris takes over a week, traveling through countryside that grows progressively more spring-like as you move south. Unlike in England where you slept in abbeys, here your party stops at the castles of various nobles along the route. Each night brings another formal welcome. Another feast you must attend despite your exhaustion. Another round of memorizing French names and titles. The travel itself is grueling. Medieval roads are rough at best, impossible at worst. Spring rains have left many sections muddy and rutted. Your litter, carried by 4 strong men who rotate with others throughout the day, jolts and sways uncomfortably. By the 3rd day, your back aches constantly. By the 5th, you have developed sores where your body presses against the wooden frame despite the cushions. We are making good time, Lord Bertrand assures you during one rest stop, as if that is any comfort. We should reach Paris in 3 more days, weather permitting. The weather does not permit. A spring storm hits, bringing driving rain that turns the road to mud and forces your party to seek shelter at a manor house smaller than planned. Accommodations are cramped. You share a bed with Alice and Lady Isabel. All 3 of you still in your damp clothes, because there is no privacy to change. At least it is warm. Alice whispers in English, trying to find something positive in the situation. It is warm. Surprisingly so. The shared body heat under the woolen blankets creates a cocoon of comfort that reminds you of childhood, of times when illness or cold would prompt your nurses to sleep beside you. There is an intimacy to it that feels alien after years of increasing separation and formality as you grew into your role as princess. Lady Isabel, overhearing the English comment, surprises you by responding in the same language. The French countryside has its charms even in bad weather. She says, though I admit I prefer the comforts of Paris. You speak English? You ask, startled. In all your weeks together she has insisted on French. Lady Isabel smiles in the darkness. Of course. How else would I understand what you and your ladies whisper when you think I cannot comprehend? But do not tell the others. It is a useful advantage. You laugh despite yourself. A genuine laugh. Possibly the first since leaving England. There is something reassuring about discovering that Lady Isabel, strict taskmaster and the embodiment of French court expectations, has a touch of the conspirator about her. The storm passes. The journey resumes. And finally, after what feels like months but has been less than 2 weeks, the spires of Paris appear on the horizon. Notre Dame. Lady Isabel points out the massive cathedral rising above the city walls. And there, the palace. Your new home? The French royal palace is nothing like your father's primary castle. Where the English fortress is solidly defensive, built to withstand attacks, the French palace is designed to impress, to display wealth and sophistication. Its walls are still formidable but decorated with carvings and statues. Its windows are larger, many fitted with actual glass rather than shutters and oiled parchment. As your procession approaches the city gates, you are met by a larger, more elaborate welcoming party. Royal guards in full ceremonial armor. Nobles in their finest clothes. Church officials in rich vestments. Musicians playing fanfares on silver trumpets. And at the center of it all, a young man on a magnificent white horse, dressed in blue and gold. The French royal colors. Prince Philip. Lady Isabel confirms quietly. Your husband? Your heart hammers painfully against your ribs. This is the moment you have been both dreading and curiously anticipating. Your first glimpse of the man you are already married to. The stranger who will share your bed. Your life? Possibly your entire future. He is not what you expected. Taller than you imagined, but slender. Almost delicate in build. Pale with features that might be called pretty rather than handsome. His hair is light brown, falling in soft waves to his shoulders in the current French fashion. No beard. A contrast to the heavily bearded English nobles you are accustomed to. As your litter is lowered to the ground, Prince Philip dismounts and approaches. You struggle to stand on legs, weakened by days of travel. Determined to meet your husband for the first time with as much dignity as possible, he stops before you and bows. Lower than strictly necessary given his rank. When he straightens, you see his eyes properly for the first time. Blue-gray? Intelligent. Evaluating you just as you are evaluating him. Princess. He greets you in French. Welcome to Paris. I trust your journey was not too arduous. The formal question. The expected response. Thank you, Your Highness. The journey was long but well worth the destination. A practiced line delivered with appropriate modesty. You drop into a curtsy. Eyes lowered. When you rise, you are surprised to find Prince Philip still looking at you intently, as if trying to see beyond the formal facade. You must be exhausted, he says, and there is something in his voice. A genuine concern that was not there in the ritual greeting. I have arranged for you to have time to rest before the formal welcome feast tonight. It is a small kindness but unexpected. Medieval royal protocol does not typically prioritize comfort over ceremony. Thank you. You say again, and this time it is heartfelt. He offers his arm to escort you through the city gates. It is a symbolic gesture. The prince personally bringing his bride into his domain. But it also provides practical support for your shaky legs. You place your hand lightly on his sleeve, feeling the rich velvet beneath your fingers, and step forward into your new life. Paris in spring is beautiful, even viewed through the haze of exhaustion. The city is larger, busier, more colorful than any you have seen before. People line the streets, craning for a glimpse of their new princess. You smile and wave as you have been taught, maintaining the royal image despite your fatigue. The palace itself is overwhelming. Room after room of tapestried walls and painted ceilings furnished with pieces more delicate and ornate than the sturdy English furniture you are accustomed to. Your new chambers are spacious, bright with spring sunshine through large windows, and already prepared with French furnishings interspersed with a few familiar items brought from England. I had them place your English books here. Prince Philip says, gesturing to a small table near the window. Lady Isabel mentioned you enjoy reading. Again, that unexpected thoughtfulness. You speak with Lady Isabel about me. You ask? A slight flush colors his pale cheeks. I wanted to know something of my bride beyond diplomatic reports. Lady Isabel has been informative. Before you can pursue this intriguing revelation, the necessary separations of court protocol intervene. Prince Philip bows again. Rest, princess. We will speak more at the feast. And then you are alone with your ladies. The English ones looking as overwhelmed as you feel. The French ones already efficiently unpacking, arranging, preparing for the evening ceremonies. He seems kind. Alice ventures in English as she helps you out of your traveling clothes and into a loose robe for resting. Yes. You agree cautiously. He does. But medieval royal marriages are not built on kindness. They are political arrangements designed to benefit kingdoms, not individuals. A prince who notices your books is still a prince who married you for your bloodline and the alliance you represent. A moment of consideration does not erase the fundamental transaction at the heart of your relationship. Still, as you finally stretch out on a bed that is not moving, that is not shared with multiple other people, that is actually long enough for your body. You find yourself thinking that perhaps, just perhaps, this forced marriage might offer more than mere endurance. Sleep claims you almost instantly, dreamless and deep after so many days of discomfort and anxiety. When Alice wakes you for the evening feast, you feel more rested than you have since leaving England. The feast is a blur of introductions, elaborate dishes, music, and conversations in rapid French that leave you struggling to keep up despite your years of language training. You are seated beside Prince Philip at the high table with the King of France on his other side. The Queen is absent. Ill, you are told though, whether physically or mentally remains unclear. Prince Philip proves surprisingly helpful, occasionally translating a particularly rapid or idiomatic phrase quietly for your benefit. He seems genuinely concerned that you understand what is happening around you, that you are not left adrift in the sea of French court life. Tomorrow, he tells you between courses, I will show you the palace gardens. They are at their best in spring. I would like that. You reply and are surprised to realize it is true. After so many days confined in litters and ships and rain-soaked manors, the prospect of gardens in bloom is genuinely appealing. As is the chance to know more about this thoughtful scholarly prince who notices your books and translates difficult phrases. But beneath the pleasant conversation, the beautiful surroundings, the seemingly kind attentions of your new husband, an undercurrent of anxiety persists. Tonight, after the feast, comes the true consummation of your marriage. The physical union that seals the political alliance. The beginning of what medieval society views as your primary purpose, producing heirs for France. You are 13 years old. You have been instructed in the basics of what will happen primarily by Alice, since your mother's advice was limited to it passes. But instruction is not experience. The unknown looms simultaneously frightening and unavoidable. As the feast finally winds down, that anxiety sharpens to near panic. Lady Isabel appears at your side, ready to escort you to the bedchamber where the consummation will take place. In French royal tradition, you will be ceremonially prepared for bed, blessed by a priest, and then left alone with your husband for the actual consummation. Breathe, princess. Lady Isabel murmurs as you rise from the table. Just breathe. Lady Isabel leads you through the palace corridors to a chamber you have not seen before. Larger than your assigned bedchamber. Clearly designed for this specific purpose. The consummation of royal marriages. A massive bed dominates the space, hung with embroidered curtains, displaying both English and French royal symbols. Candles illuminate the room, casting soft light and gentle shadows. Several women wait inside. French ladies you recognize from court, wearing expressions of professional detachment. This, too, is part of medieval royal protocol. The preparation of a bride for her wedding night is not private or personal. It is a ceremonial event, witnessed and assisted by court ladies, whose role is to ensure traditions are followed correctly. They will help you prepare. Lady Isabel explains quietly. I will remain with you until you are alone with Prince Philip. When the marriage becomes real in the most intimate way possible, the French ladies begin the ritual undressing, removing the elaborate court gown, the jewelry, the headdress. Layer by layer, your armor of formality is stripped away. You are acutely conscious of your body, still childishly thin in some places, newly curved in others. The awkward in-between state of early adolescence. Not yet the fully formed woman, these ladies expect you to become overnight. You are dressed in a special nightgown, white linen, finer than any you have worn before, embroidered with symbols of fertility and blessed by a priest. Your hair is unbound and brushed until it shines, falling loose around your shoulders. Rose water is dabbed at your wrists, your throat, behind your ears. Throughout it all, you remain silent, retreating into the quiet space inside your mind, where you have always found refuge from the demands of your role. Your body is being prepared as a vessel for dynastic ambitions, for the children who will cement the alliance between England and France. But your thoughts remain your own. A knock at the door. The priest enters, an elderly man with kind eyes that crinkle at the corners. He speaks the traditional blessing invoking divine favor on the marriage bed, on the union of bodies that will produce the next generation of royalty. The French ladies curtsy deeply as he makes the sign of the cross over the bed. Over you. Then it is time. The ladies withdraw, closing the door softly behind them. Only Lady Isabel remains seated discreetly in a corner where she can witness without intruding. Because witnesses are required, medieval royal marriages must be consummated with proof to prevent later claims of non-consummation that could invalidate the union. You sit on the edge of the massive bed, hands folded in your lap, trying to remember to breathe. The silk coverlet is cool beneath your fingers. The pillows are plumped and ready, embroidered with more symbols of fertility. Pomegranates, rabbits, intertwined vines. Another knock. The door opens again. Prince Philip enters dressed in a simple robe, his hair loose around his shoulders. He looks as nervous as you feel, his slender hands fidgeting with the belt of his robe. "Princess," he says, his voice softer than at the feast. "How are you feeling?" The question surprises you. It is not part of the formal script you expected. "I am well, Your Highness." You respond automatically. He approaches the bed slowly, as if trying not to startle you. "Philip," he says. "Please call me Philip. At least when we are private." Private is a relative term, with Lady Isabel still in the room, but you understand what he means. A small step toward familiarity in this most unfamiliar situation. "Philip," you repeat. The name strange on your tongue after months of referring to him only by his title. He sits beside you, leaving careful space between your bodies. "I know this is difficult," he says, his voice barely above a whisper. "You are very young, and we are strangers to each other." You nod, not trusting yourself to speak. "I want you to know," he continues, his eyes meeting yours directly, "that I understand my duty, but I have no wish to cause you pain or fear. We have many years ahead of us. There is no need to rush. It is so unexpected." This gentle consideration, that tears spring to your eyes before you can stop them. Medieval princesses are not supposed to cry. It is a weakness, an indulgence. But the accumulated strain of the journey, the strangeness of your situation, and now this unexpected kindness break through your careful composure. Philip looks alarmed at your tears, clearly unsure how to respond. After a moment's hesitation, he reaches out and takes your hand. His fingers are cool and smooth against yours. A scholar's hands, not a warrior's. "Maybe we could just talk for tonight," he suggests, glancing toward Lady Isabel, who watches impassively from her corner. "Get to know each other a little." It is not what is expected. The consummation is supposed to happen promptly. Witnessed. The marriage secured. But Philip seems genuinely concerned about your comfort, your readiness. "I would like that," you whisper. And so, on your wedding night, instead of the immediate physical union that medieval custom demands, you and Prince Philip simply talk. He tells you about his studies, philosophy, astronomy, languages. You share your love of stories, of history. He speaks of his favorite places in the palace gardens, promises again to show them to you tomorrow. Lady Isabel watches, her expression unreadable. This deviation from protocol could be problematic, but she makes no move to intervene. Perhaps she too sees the value in building some foundation of understanding before the physical aspects of marriage begin. Hours pass. The candles burn lower. Your initial terror fades, replaced by cautious curiosity about this thoughtful young man who seems as constrained by his royal role as you are by yours. Finally, when the night is half gone, Philip sighs and glances at Lady Isabel. "We should. The marriage must be valid," he says, his scholarly formality returning. You nod, the anxiety fluttering back to life in your chest. But it is different now. Less acute. Tempered by the hours of conversation that have transformed Prince Philip from an abstract concept to a real person. A person who at the very least seems to view you as a person too. Not just a political necessity. What follows is still uncomfortable. Still strange. Still painful in ways you were warned about. But Philip is gentle. Apologetic. Quick. And when it is done, the marriage consummated. The alliance secured in the most ancient and binding way. He does not immediately leave as protocol would allow. Instead, he stays beside you. His presence oddly comforting in the unfamiliar bed. Rest now, he says quietly, adjusting the covers around you. It has been a long journey for you. You drift toward sleep, exhausted by the physical and emotional demands of the day. The last thing you register is Philip's voice, very soft, saying something to Lady Isabel that sounds like "take care of her." And then darkness claims you. The next weeks and months bring gradual adjustment to your new life in the French court. Some aspects are easier than you feared. Prince Philip keeps his promise to show you the palace gardens which become your favorite refuge from the complexities of court politics. He makes time each day to see you continuing the conversations begun on your wedding night. Building a careful friendship that makes the required physical aspects of marriage more bearable. Other adjustments are harder. The French court is indeed more formal. More politically fraught than your father's. Alliances shift constantly. Whispers follow you through the corridors. The English princess, the foreigner, the child bride whose accent still betrays her origins, despite Lady Isabel's intensive coaching. They are testing you. Lady Isabel explains after one particularly difficult court gathering where several French ladies deliberately spoke too quickly for you to follow. Looking for weaknesses they can exploit. Why? You ask, frustrated by the constant scrutiny. The subtle undermining. What does it matter to them how I speak? How I dress? How I conduct myself? Lady Isabel's face softens with rare sympathy. Because you have what they want? A place at the center of power. A prince's ear. The potential to be mother to the next generation of royalty. It is a stark reminder of the medieval reality. Your value lies not in yourself, but in your position. Your connections. Your womb. And in this world where women have so little direct power, those things make you both a target and a potential ally worth cultivating. So what do I do? You ask. Watch. Listen. Learn who can be trusted and who cannot. Lady Isabel straightens your veil with practiced hands. And give France an heir as soon as possible. Nothing will secure your position more effectively. But months pass, and your courses continue to arrive with predictable regularity. No pregnancy. No heir. No strengthened position. You are not particularly concerned. You are barely 14. Still growing into your adult body. But the court notices. Whispers change from comments about your accent to speculation about your fertility. The king begins to look at you with slight disappointment when you are presented at formal occasions. Even Philip, kind as he is, occasionally asks if you are feeling well. If there is anything troubling you that might prevent conception, it will happen when God wills it. Your mother wrote in her one brief letter since your departure from England, cold comfort from a woman who produced her first child within a year of marriage. Spring turns to summer, summer to autumn. You settle into the rhythms of French court life. Your French improves to near-native fluency. You learn the complex web of relationships that governs court politics. Begin to navigate it with growing confidence. You find unexpected allies. A few French ladies who prove less hostile than others. An elderly countess who takes a grandmotherly interest in your education. Even the king's personal chaplain who admires your devotion during religious services. And through it all, your relationship with Philip evolves from awkward formality to genuine companionship. He shares his books with you, discusses ideas other men would consider too complex for female understanding. You learn that he dislikes hunting, prefers music to military exercises, and has a surprisingly dry sense of humor that emerges only in private. You are not what I expected, he confesses one evening as you sit together in your private chambers. A rare moment of true privacy with all attendants dismissed. What did you expect? You ask, curious about the image he had formed of his English bride. Someone more. He hesitates, searching for the word. Conventional, perhaps. Someone who would accept without questioning. And that is not me. Philip smiles. The genuine smile that transforms his scholarly features. No, it is not. You have thoughts of your own. Opinions. Questions. It is refreshing. Refreshing. Not appropriate. Not proper. Not suitable. Just refreshing. It is perhaps the greatest compliment you have received since coming to France. Winter arrives, bringing new challenges. The palace, for all its grandeur, is cold. Tapestries and carpets can only do so much against the bitter wind that finds every crack in the stone walls. You fall ill with a fever that leaves you weak and shaking for days. Attended by the royal physician, whose remedies, bleeding, purging, strange-smelling poultices, seem to make you worse rather than better. Philip visits daily, despite the risk of contagion, bringing books to read aloud when your own eyes are too tired to focus on the pages. It is during your recovery, as you lie propped up on pillows, listening to his voice shape the words of ancient philosophers, that you realize something has changed between you. Not love, perhaps. Medieval royal marriages rarely involve that convenient emotion. But something like affection. A genuine care for each other's well-being that transcends political necessity. And then, as spring returns to Paris, bringing the first fragile blossoms to the palace gardens, your courses fail to arrive. Once, then twice. The royal physician confirms what your body has already told you. You are with child. The alliance will have its heir. The news transforms your position at court overnight. The king smiles warmly when you are presented at formal gatherings. The previously hostile French ladies suddenly find reasons to seek your company. Offer advice? Express concern for your health? Philip looks at you with a mixture of pride and worry that you find unexpectedly touching. Are you afraid? He asks privately when the initial flurry of congratulations has passed. You consider lying, presenting the brave face expected of a royal woman facing the dangerous territory of childbirth. But the concern in his eyes deserves honesty. Yes, you admit, I am. A takes your hand. A gesture that has become familiar over the months of your marriage. I have arranged for the best midwives in France, he says, and I have sent for a physician from Italy who specializes in difficult births. It is more consideration than most medieval husbands would show. Most would simply assume that childbirth is women's business. A mysterious process best left to midwives and God's will. Philip's practical efforts to ensure your safety touch you deeply. Your pregnancy progresses through spring and summer, your body changing in ways both fascinating and alarming. The royal physician monitors you closely, as does Lady Isabel, whose role has evolved from strict taskmaster to something almost like a friend. You are doing well, she assures you after each examination. The child grows strong. But beneath the reassurances, you are acutely aware of the dangers. You have seen it in your own family. Women who died bringing new life into the world. Children who survived only days or hours. The terrible grief that follows such losses. Medieval childbirth is a battlefield where women fight alone, armed only with faith and the accumulated wisdom of generations of midwives. In the autumn, as your time approaches, you are moved to the Queen's chambers, the traditional birthing room for royal women. The space is prepared according to ancient customs. Windows covered to prevent harmful air from entering. Floors strewn with fresh herbs thought to prevent infection. Religious relics positioned around the bed for spiritual protection. The labor begins on a cool September morning. Your waters breaking suddenly as you walk in the private garden with Lady Isabel. The pain follows quickly, stronger than you imagined, more relentless. You are helped to the birthing chamber where the midwives and female attendants are already gathering. Men, including Philip, are excluded. Childbirth being considered exclusively women's domain in medieval Europe. What follows is a battle unlike any you could have prepared for. Hours of pain that rises and falls like ocean waves, growing more intense as the day progresses into evening. The midwives offer herbal concoctions to ease the pain, to speed the birth. They position and reposition your body to help the child's passage. They pray over you, invoking saints associated with safe delivery. Through it all, Lady Isabel remains at your side, holding your hand, wiping your brow, whispering encouragement when your strength falters. This, too, is unexpected. This fierce support from a woman who began as your instructor in French ways and has somehow become your defender, your ally. Night falls. The pain intensifies. The midwives exchange worried glances as your labor extends beyond what is considered normal. You catch fragments of their whispered conversations. Concerns about your youth, your size, the position of the child. The Italian physician, Lady Isabel demands, "Bring him now." There is resistance. Men are not traditionally allowed in the birthing chamber. But Lady Isabel's authority, backed by Prince Philip's prior instructions, prevails. The Italian doctor arrives, washing his hands thoroughly in wine before examining you, an unusual practice that raises eyebrows among the traditional midwives. The child is turned wrong, he announces after his examination. It must be repositioned or neither mother nor infant will survive. What follows is excruciating. The doctor's hands inside you, turning the baby. Guided by experience and anatomical knowledge unusual for medieval medicine. You scream despite your royal training. Beyond caring about dignity or composure. This is survival. Raw and desperate. And then, miraculously, relief. The baby shifts. Your body, recognizing the change, responds with renewed effort. The midwives return to their positions, encouraging, supporting, guiding. Push, princess. Lady Isabel urges, her composed facade cracking to show genuine fear and hope beneath. Push now. With the last of your strength you obey. There is a final tearing pain. And then the midwife's triumphant cry. A boy. A healthy boy. The heir. The living embodiment of the alliance between England and France. The child who, God willing, will one day unite the interests of both kingdoms. You collapse against the sweat-soaked pillows, barely conscious as the midwives clean the baby. Wrap him in fine linen. Place him briefly on your chest before whisking him away to be properly bathed and presented to his father. You did well. Lady Isabel tells you, her voice uncharacteristically gentle. Rest now. The hard part is over. But it is not quite. Medieval childbirth dangers extend beyond the actual delivery. Infection, bleeding, milk fever, all claim countless new mothers in the days and weeks after birth. You are confined to the birthing chamber for the traditional month of lying in, attended by midwives and physicians who monitor you for signs of complications. The baby, officially named Henri after his paternal grandfather the king, is brought to you for feeding several times each day. Against custom, you insist on nursing him yourself rather than immediately engaging a wet nurse. It is a small rebellion against court protocol, but one Philip supports after consulting with the Italian physician who believes a mother's milk provides the best chance for infant survival. These quiet moments with your son become precious islands of peace in the otherwise strictly regulated routine of medieval royal motherhood. When you hold him, feeling his small weight against your chest, watching his perfect fingers curl and uncurl, you understand something medieval philosophy never taught you. That love is not just a philosophical concept or a religious duty. It is this fierce, protective connection that transcends politics, duty, even the circumstances of his conception. Philip visits daily, watching with scholarly curiosity as you nurse the child, occasionally asking questions about the process that make Lady Isabel purse her lips in disapproval. His interest in his son is genuine, if somewhat detached. Medieval fathers, particularly royal ones, typically maintained distance from infants, becoming more involved as children grew old enough for formal education. He has your eyes. Philip observes one afternoon studying the baby's face with the same concentration he brings to astronomical charts. But my mother's chin, I think. It is an unexpected observation from a medieval husband. This acknowledgement of your contribution to the child, beyond simply carrying and delivering him. Most would see the son as a continuation of the paternal line only. The mother, a necessary but ultimately unimportant vessel. What do you wish for him? You ask, curious about Philip's vision for this child who represents so much politically. Philip considers the question seriously, as he does all questions. That he be wiser than his grandfather. He finally says so quietly that only you can hear. That he rule with intellect rather than might. It is a revealing answer. A glimpse of Philip's own complex relationship with his father, the warrior king, who has always seemed somewhat bemused by his scholarly second son. And it is a trust. This honest answer shared only with you. As the traditional month of confinement ends, you prepare to re-enter court life. To present yourself and the heir at formal ceremonies. To resume your duties as princess. Your body still aches from the ordeal of childbirth. Still feels strangely hollow and unfamiliar. But your mind is clearer. Sharper. Somehow more your own than before. Something has changed. Not just physically, but in your understanding of your place in this world that treats women as political commodities. You have survived the most dangerous journey a medieval woman can undertake. You have produced the heir that secures your position. You have fulfilled the primary duty of a royal wife. And in doing so, you have gained a measure of freedom. Not the complete autonomy a modern woman might expect, but significant space within the constraints of medieval royal life. Freedom to establish your own household routines. Freedom to select additional ladies who share your interests. Freedom to pursue the intellectual curiosities Philip has encouraged. What would you like to do now? Philip asks on the eve of your return to court. Sitting beside your bed, where you nurse the baby one last time before handing him to the wet nurse who will care for him overnight. It is an extraordinary question from a medieval husband to his wife. The expected answer would be dutiful submission to whatever he decides. But that is not what Philip is asking. He is genuinely interested in your desires. Your choices. I would like to learn more. You say after a moment's thought. About astronomy. About philosophy. About the things you study. Philip looks surprised, then pleased. I can arrange for tutors. Books. And I would like to establish a proper library. You continue. The idea taking shape as you speak. For Henri when he is older, but also for others. For girls who might not otherwise have access to learning. It is a small rebellion against the limitations placed on female education, but one that falls within the acceptable bounds of a princess's charitable works. Philip nods thoughtfully. A royal library with works in both French and English. He suggests building on your idea. A bridge between our cultures, just as Henri will be. Just as you are. He does not say, but the implication is clear. You two serve as a living bridge between kingdoms. Not just a political token, not just a vessel for heirs, but an active participant in creating understanding between different worlds. In that moment, something shifts in your relationship with Philip. Not romantic love as modern people might understand it, but a partnership of minds that transcends the political arrangement of your marriage. A recognition of each other as individuals with thoughts and ambitions beyond your prescribed roles. As you drift towards sleep, your body healing, your mind full of plans for the library that will become your legacy, you realize that you have found something unexpected in this life that was forced upon you. Not perfect happiness. Medieval life offers few guarantees of that, especially for women. But purpose, meaning agency within constraints. You have survived the dangerous journey from English princess to French wife and mother. You have navigated court politics, language barriers, physical trials, and emerged stronger, clearer about who you are beyond the titles and expectations. The medieval princess's life is never truly her own. But within the gilded cage you have carved out space for yourself. Space to think, to learn, to influence the next generation through your son and through the library that will bear your name long after you are gone. It is not a fairy tale ending. There will still be court politics to navigate. Still the expectation of producing more children. Still the fundamental inequalities of medieval society. But it is a beginning of a life that belongs at least partially to you. Not just to the kingdoms you connect. As sleep claims you, you find yourself thinking of your mother's ring still hidden beneath your gloves most days. The tangible link to generations of women who came before you, who also found ways to preserve something of themselves within the constraints of their times. You are one of them now. Not just a pawn in the great game of medieval politics, but a player with limited yet real moves available to you. A woman navigating the narrow path between duty and selfhood, between what is expected and what is possible. And somehow that knowledge makes the heavy tapestry bed feel warmer. The strange French palace feel a little more like home. The future stretches before you, not just as obligation, but as possibility. Sleep comes gently wrapping around you, like the softest of blankets carrying you toward dreams where libraries grow. Knowledge spreads, and princesses write their own stories within the margins of history. And perhaps as you drift deeper into that peaceful darkness, you might find yourself sinking deeper into your own bed, centuries away from medieval constraints. Free to dream of all the possibilities that women after you would gradually, painfully win. The possibilities that began with women like you, women who survived, women who found small rebellions, women who carved out spaces of meaning within systems designed to contain them, women who passed their rings and their strength and their stubborn refusal to be erased down through generations, women who remind us that even in the darkest, most constrained circumstances, the human spirit finds ways to breathe, to grow, to matter. Sleep now. Rest. Dream of gardens and libraries and children who will inherit a slightly better world because of the choices you made within impossible constraints. Dream of women across centuries, holding hands across time. Each one saying to the next, I survived. You will too. And together, slowly, painfully, beautifully, we change the world. Good night. Sleep well. You are safe. You are home. You are free.